make a proposal for.
Hello, Bhaivane. Jai Jagannath. I hope everyone is doing fine, and we are back with our new episode where we are going to talk about art of design. Yes, design helps us to engage. It is used to communicate through physical and digital worlds. It has the ability to change our cognitions, even the way we perceive things. For example, when Steve Jobs introduced iPhone in 2007 in the legendary presentation, the world of mobile devices changed forever. Even the color of our mailbox has huge impact on us. To discuss in detail, we got our guest for tonight, Mr. Bharat Appar. I feel privileged to introduce him. He is an alumni of National Institute of Design Bengaluru and NIT Raulkela. He has been in Adobe's Top Talent 2019 and winner of NASSCOM's Design for India Design Awards. Currently, he works as a UX designer at Jita. His works has been featured in lot of popular pages in Instagram. So Bharat bhai, I introduce you to our show. Can you brief us about your journey till now?
Sure. Thank you, Siddharth. Thank you, Biswajit, Sambit, and the team to introduce me, to call me here. And yeah, so as said, my name is Bharat, and I work as a UX designer at Zeta, which is a fintech company. And I also am curious about many other things in the world. And I'm also a content creator. So I create content for different social media platforms, and basically these content are what are basically the summaries of ideas that I consume, and I share it with people. So that is pretty much it.
Okay, thank you Bharat bhai.
So, Bharat bhai, I wanted to ask you, how do you think a good design impact the decision making of a person as an individual, also as a society as a whole? So, how do you think a good design impact?
So I think first of all we need to define good design, and then we will go for individual and society. So good design, I would assume that when you are saying good design, good good is again a very relative term, right? So when we are assuming or when we are saying good design, I would assume that this is good design for business point of view and user point of view. Now this is important to define, because if you say good user experience, then we would say ki in Flipkart or in Amazon, the good user experience would be if everything was free for us, right? So that would be the best user experience, but that is not the best business experience for Amazon. So here I'm assuming that by good design, you are saying there is a good marriage between the user experience and the business expectations. So in that regard, when you are saying what is the impact on individual, so do you mean individual as the creator or individual as the one who is consuming the design?
The one who is consuming.
Okay, so the one who is consuming, there are actually two ways of looking at it, I feel, right? For example, in a platform like Amazon, we say good design would be the one that would make users journey easier, or it makes things efficient for them, right? So here the word is not engagement. Here we want the transactions to happen as fast as possible. So here we are planning to save time for the user. Whereas in a platform like Facebook, which is primarily a content consumption platform, we would say that a good design would be the one where the user is most engaged, right? Or the user gets all the tools to express themselves. So in that way, we would say that a good design would help user express themselves the way they want, to whom they want, and they can reach to whoever they want in a platform like social media. Whereas in a platform like Amazon, we would say that the impact of good design would be people would save their resources and their time on on a product like Amazon, right? So these are like two different kind of platform, one where content is consumed and other where efficiency is measured. So that's how good design will impact user, that it is about expression and efficiency in different ways. So that is one way of thinking ki how it impacts individuals. And when we now scale it to a tribe or a group of people, when an individual actually trusts a company, then that trust factor is going to create a social proof for other people to trust the company, right? So if I trust Amazon, then I tell you guys or my best friends to go and shop on Amazon, and that way a group of people are going to join Amazon or become customer of Amazon. So that way a tribe following or cult following can be also created when a user is satisfied with the product that they are given. So that is one way of thinking about it. Also, when you're creating efficiency for one person, and when you're create and similarly you have a huge user base, and if you save about 1 or 2 minutes or even 1 second for one user, then over the course of time, and when your magnitude of users changes, then you are pretty much saving a lot of time for the humanity. For example, what Uber did, it actually is saving time for humanity at a large scale, right? So that's how I would like to answer about how good design impacts users at individual level and society at large.
Yes, thank you, Bharat bhai. I guess that answers the question. So, going ahead with the next question, which I have, and I have felt throughout, is that there is a constant attractions for the minimalistic designs that we see around. And I personally believe a minimalistic approach should be a basic property of a design. So, as a designer, and as an expert also, I want to ask you, so how to develop an intuitive approach for that minimalistic design?
Okay, so minimalistic can again be thought through in two ways. I mean, it actually exists in product in two ways. Minimalistic can be key in your product features. How many feature do you want in your product? For example, say Paytm versus an app like WhatsApp. So Paytm does all kind of job, right? It's a super app. It has like you can buy things, you can recharge your phone, you can probably watch movies or book event tickets and many things you can do. So it's pretty much like a Swiss knife. That is not minimalism in features there. Whereas if you come to WhatsApp, it does one job and it does it brilliantly well, right? Which is about private chat. So that way minimalism exists, and minimalism helps in focus of the product and the company. Ki when you have limited features in a product and everyone is aligned to make the best version of that feature or of those limited feature, then a certain level of quality is assured, right? So that way minimalism is there, that exists in product. We are not trying to create Swiss knives these days. We are trying to boil down to niche market, and we are trying to create product. So that is one way of thinking about minimalism. The other part, I think, what we have been seeing and what probably this question was about is, I guess, minimalistic visual sense, right?
Yes.
Which is, it depends. I mean, minimalism, I feel, is a privilege that some product only can have, right? For example, I don't know if you have heard about this story, but when Amazon introduced their product to, I mean, when Amazon actually penetrated the product to tier 2 and tier 3 cities, many families thought that the search button, that search icon is there, that is a badminton racket, right? So if you don't write search next to that badminton racket, then people will not understand that it is a search button, and that is happening in tier 2 city. But if your user base is a tier 1 city, then they know all these interaction patterns, right? So there you can say, I can remove that text and I can only show this search, this magnifying glass ka icon, and people will be able to understand. So when I said it is a privilege, it is a privilege because it depends on the user base. If your user is new to the entire game of mobile, then you will have to have more stuff than what is there in general. I mean, you have to explain most of the things, and things have to be very intuitive in general. Like, you cannot be very creative and create fascinating interaction patterns uh, in such app. For example, if you take Crade, and if you see their design, so are you aware of Crade app?
Yes, yes.
Yeah,
Yeah, yeah.
yeah.
If you see their app, there you will see that they're able to experiment a hell lot than any other companies. That is because they're targeting credit card users, and credit card users are where basically they're in the metro cities, and they're pretty much creamiest of the creamiest layer of the society, right? They're like the richest of the rich, right? So if they're targeting
Absolutely.
the top 1%, then obviously they know they're digitally quite aware and advanced, so they can experiment a lot uh, with their design. Whereas the same thing you cannot do for something like Oyo or Make My Trip or Amazon, because they are now trying to expand their user base and go to markets like tier 3 cities and tier 2 cities, right? So having said that, again, we have to first understand also what minimalism is. So minimalism is not about completely removing and, I mean, completely making things empty. It is about removing enough things so that the design works. So depending on the user and the context, we can remove, I mean, the level of removal is at a certain level. I mean, is at a certain I mean, we can remove certain things from the design depending on the user base.
So
That's it.
basically, if we remove a lot of things and still the design is intuitive and the user is able to use it, so that's the point, right?
Yeah, I mean, you can remove multiple things, but how much you can remove depends on how knowledgeable your user is. If they can get that three dot means there is a menu inside it, then it is fine. I mean, then you are at that privileged position where you can use that three dot. But if you think that your user is someone who does not understand the three dot, then you have to write that it is a menu. MENU you have to write there. Right? So, and then the minimalism that you can achieve for one user will not be of similar nature for for another user.
So, like, I have one follow-up question for that. Like, how do companies like gauge this thing, like gauge their user base, and how do they plan according to that?
They have the data of who is downloading, no? So from which city, and what is their pattern of interaction and all. So we have the data, at least we have the quantitative data of who are these people and where are they downloading. So that's how people know who is using our product. And even if the product is not released, you will always create a product with the first thing in mind, ki who is our target user and what is the problem we are solving for them, right? So every product is built on
Mhm.
that foundation that we have a target user, we have a target market.
Okay, so I think that's insightful because tells us that our design perspective also depends on the people who consume it.
Yes.
Yes. So going ahead with my next question, as seen in the popular documentary, The Social Dilemma, it was
Mhm.
seen that in there the creators and the designers they talked about how they created a system or an environment which is addictive for the users. So my question is, for a designer who is creating environments which can be addictive like Facebook, Instagram, do
Mhm.
they have a moral responsibility that the design should be addictive or not? And then the next question I want you to answer merging with it is that uh, if yes or no, then what should be the goal of a good design?
Yeah, I mean, I have also watched Social Dilemma, and see, this word addiction, for for these people now they are saying it as addiction, but I'm pretty sure when they were in the room and were designing these interfaces, they would have called it user engagement. Now they are calling it addiction. Okay.
Yeah.
So the same thing, when we are also discussing, we are also creating products, we are calling it user engagement. And all these things are called engagement metrics and all that thing. So there is, I mean, it is all about perspective. So do you want to call it addiction or do you want to call it engagement? Addiction would be when people get out of control, and they cannot deal with this engagement. Like they are on this autopilot mode and they cannot help it. But I think that is true with addiction, is true with everything. Like even burgers are addictive, or french fries are addictive. You don't always have it, right? And similarly, cigarettes are addictive, and everything is addictive. But then there is a control. The government controls it by taxing it heavily. Similarly, if you can tax the user for using social media, maybe that is a solution. But you actually cannot, because it is not that kind of a property that can be taxed like that. But there are many solutions that you might have also seen in social dilemma, what can be done and what cannot be done. And people talk about ethics of designing. Should we be making it for user engagement, user addiction or not? But then you have to also understand how Facebook works, right? From where it earns money. Two things: one is definitely data, the other thing is which is, like everyone knows, it is by ads. Okay. Now in ads,
Right.
what kind, so as a user I want to ask you, what kind of ads would you really like to see? Do you want to see something that you are interested in, or do you want to see random ads?
Of course, the ads that we are interested in.
Then how will we know that you are interested in something if we don't have your data, and if you don't sell it to people who are showing ads, right? So
Yes.
we, I mean, not we, I mean people who in Facebook. So they have to give that data to the people, to the advertisers, and so that you can get the better experience here. Otherwise, if I show you some random ad, then obviously your experience will be hampered by that. So that is one way of thinking. And also Facebook is free to use, right? And the best mind of this world are working in Facebook. Now how would you sustain such a system if you do not put ad? One way of saying it is, like there is a premium for YouTube, you can do the same for Facebook. But I mean, that is also again a solution. You do a Facebook premium, and you stop collecting all kind of data from the user. That is also one way of doing it. But obviously their business model, they want to keep it the way they are doing it right now. So
Yeah.
in that freemium model, anything that is free is always collecting data, and there is always a catch in a freemium model. So I think user always, I mean, the people sign up for it. And I think I saw this very, I mean, not saw, I think I heard this nice line in that Social Dilemma, where they say that only in psychedelic drugs and in design, we call our consumers as users. So
Users, yeah.
Yes.
yeah, I mean, but users in design is not only for, I mean, design is not just for social media, no. Even Uber car consumers are also called users. So again, I mean, we
Yeah.
cannot really say that everything that was said in Social Dilemma. I think Social Dilemma was basically social drama, I would say. I mean, the way everything was staged was pretty
Yes.
much dramatic. I mean, consider this, no? Why is it on Netflix? I mean, it is on
Yeah.
Netflix, and Netflix also
Correct.
causes, I mean, they also think about user engagement in 100,000 ways. And social
Yeah.
media also has user
Yeah.
engagement in 100,000 ways. Then they're pretty much selling the same drug. I mean, it's ironical that something that Netflix does wrong is also making a documentary of the same thing. And the irony of the irony is, it is Social Dilemma is trending on social media. So
Okay. Let's move towards a different set of questions. So, I'll ask you along the lines of like, if someone is interested becoming a designer, so how they start their career, or like how they start off if they want to be a UI or UX designer?
These are the kind of questions that I get mostly on my Instagram, because many new people try to get into the industry. And the first thing that I ask them is, are you sure you want to be a UX designer? Because most of them already have some kind of aspiration. Okay, so for example, many people are interested in graphic design, but they want to come to UX design. So there are two kinds of people again: one who do not have any kind of background, and others who have a background like graphic design or coding or something like that. So the path would be very different. I would suggest very different paths for different people. Anyone who is coming from graphic design, I will suggest a different thing. But here, let me try to answer for someone who has no background in any other profession. So if anyone who does not have a background in profession, any other profession, I think what they should do is they should first understand what is this UI UX and what do people do. And for that to happen, they need to go through different user case studies, not user case, different projects that people have listed in their portfolios, with different case studies that people have posted in their portfolio, and then go through it. And if anything that they do not understand, then they should question it, Google it, get the answer, and so on. Meanwhile, also what they should do initially as step zero, this was step one, but step zero should be they should first fix 2 3 role models, okay, what they want to become like. And within those role models also they should have few role models who are actually approachable. For example, you cannot approach Christo and say, hey dude, can you see my work and can you review it with 2 3 lines? He does not have time for that, right? Rather, you would pick some local people, some of your seniors or someone you know in your family who is in industry, and make them your local mentors, the most approachable mentor, so that they can guide you in getting from level 1 to level 2. So yeah, I mean, the first thing is go and kill all these portfolios. I mean, kill as in like disintegrate the portfolios, and take each word, take each sentence, take each decision making, and understand what is this and why is it done. And after that, so this will pretty much help you get what UX is. Then what you can do is you can actually learn one of the UI tool. And here machine doesn't matter, because it can run on a Windows machine, Mac machine, any low powered Windows machine also you can do. So example, like in 3D or in After Effects, you require higher powered machine. And for UI UX, I mean, for UI design, you would not need that kind of machine. So one should then learn a tool like Adobe XD, Sketch, or Figma, and then try to replicate other UIs. So this is the phase where you need to learn UI. And in UI, there are two things. One is you have to develop an eye for aesthetics, and second is you have to understand what all pattern exist. By patterns, I mean, if there is a bunch of information, should you put it inside an accordion, or inside a button, or inside a drop down, or should there be cards? So there are many ways to do the same job, but what UI pattern needs to be there. So buttons are also patterns, and these drop down menus, all of these are actually UI patterns. So one should know what all things exist and what are the best practices. So Google ka material design library and their documentation is a good place to start with. So yeah, I mean, once you are done with UI, you should replicate screens to develop that eye. I mean, the eye for visual aesthetics, like what should be the spacing and what font to be used and all. And for that, the best way to do is take a screenshot of any popular app which is well designed, say WhatsApp or Uber or Google Maps. Take that screenshot and replicate the exact same design, so that you will understand that what should be the scale of things. Because one thing that I have seen in going through portfolios that are very new, I see a lack of understanding of color theory, a lack of scale as to what, especially scale in icons. Like I have seen huge ass icons in screens. So that is one thing that people are going to get better at it once you start copying design. Just replicate, and the replication is basically a process of training your eye muscle to understand what is good design. So
Mhm.
that way, and then obviously once you are done with your training part, which is your UX and UI training part, then you should uh, try to solve simple problems. And solve simple problems as in, like, in college you have a lot of problem. For example, if you were to call an auto from backpost, then you have to go to this thing, you have to go to security and call that guy, right? At least in our time, this is how it used to happen. In your days, how was it happening?
Yes,
It
it's
was,
still happening.
yeah.
Yeah. So again, you can solve that by creating a Uber for NIT Rourkela, like campus, inside campus you will create a Uber for that. You can do that. Or when if you can also do a thing where you might have heard that this seniors used to give juniors, used to sell their books to juniors. So if you want to create a platform, a
Yeah.
simple platform like that, then you should try to do that. And I'm taking these kind of example for a college goer because they are now very familiar with that context. So the research part is something that they can actually do on campus. If you would say
Mhm.
that I will redesign Google, you cannot redesign Google sitting in college, because you don't know what are the kind of discussion that happen inside the Google headquarters, right? You do not have information. Whereas when you try to solve problems around your life, you know that what this context is, right? So these are the kind of, I mean, there you should try to solve some local problems around you using some app or some web services or anything. In fact, UI UX, I would not say that be limited to only screens. You can also go ahead and think about solving physical environment ka issue. For example, that Amul ke side mein we had this ATM, right?
Yeah.
So there, many a times you would not find 100 rupees ka note, right? So if there was a signal or some red color light or somewhere that would say only 500 ka notes are available, like it's a huge, think about a huge tower exists somewhere, and there is a red signal or a yellow signal or something like that, a yellow bulb or a green bulb is. So right from hostel I can see that this ATM doesn't have I mean, today Amul ka ATM doesn't have 500 rupees ka note
100
or
rupee
100
note.
rupees ka note, right? So, I mean, otherwise you can always do a digital app and say that where which all ATMs have which all kind of currencies, right? I'm just saying that if you want to also create a physical solution for it, then also you can do that. So that way you can solve problems in your locality and create app or create solutions, then create a portfolio out of it, and then get it reviewed by your local mentor or any mentor you can find in the industry, and then get feedback and work on what they say, right? So that is one long way of learning UI UX without paying anything to anyone.
Fantastic answer. So on that line, my question would be like, what do you think about design research in India, and how is it going to change in the next decade, especially when Gen Z people are getting into their late 20s?
Okay. Design research Gen Z. Okay. So design research again happens in two places. I think for every question, I'm just saying two places, two answers, two ways of thinking. But yeah, so even for research also happens in India in two places. One is in industry, other is in academia, right? So in academia, you need a lot of patience. Even in industry also, you need a lot of patience. But industry ka scene I'll come. Academia mein, there are only few colleges where there is PhD available, right? And these colleges are basically NIDs and IITs. So if you think, I mean, I have been in that situation wherein after masters, I was thinking of what all options are there. So there is high paying job, and then there is research. So research line is something that is more stable. It's more like government job kind of scenario, wherein once you go in, you will feel more stabler than going into. I mean, there is no high growth. It is not a high growth area. Whereas if you go to a job, then you will find a high growth area. Now, when you have completed your masters and you are thinking, should I go for this or that? Then you will also think about ki 5 year mein what is going to happen. And when you see that your friends are earning 2-3 lakhs per month, and you are earning right now the 80,000 they have made for IIT. I think PhD ka stipend is 80,000. But you see the difference, right? And then you will obviously not be interested in pursuing PhD, at least in India. If you go abroad, that's a different thing. I mean, that's a entirely different motivations to go to abroad. There are many motivation why people go to abroad. So that way, I think the design research in academia is declining, because the salary that the industry is providing and the kind of career that the industry is providing is very fascinating than what the career research fellows are getting from colleges like IITs and NID. But still, I think as long as the tag NID and IIT are there in society, and as long as they get this tag, no, this they what is it called, social signaling or status signaling. So usually we have this fascination about IITs. Now I want to get into IIT, I want to get into NID and all that. So because of that fascination, because of that brand, maybe people will go ahead and do PhDs, or maybe, and there are very less people actually I have seen who are into going into academia research. And the reason for less people to go there is it requires a lot of patience. So if people have super extreme passion and they have super extreme level of patience, then only they can go and survive in research field in India, at least. So that is going to decline, because when you are saying Gen Z and patience, we have to see about that, because see,
Those are contradictory.
yeah, because see, I understand. Even I have done some reading about Gen Z. I have also, I mean, one of my project, Gen Z was the target audience. So what all reading I have done is based on tier 1 city Gen Z, but tier 2 city and tier 3 city ka aspirations we don't know yet, because no one has done that kind of study. So if getting into IIT ka tag, I mean, getting that IIT tag is extremely important for tier 2 tier 3 city ka people, then they will actually go for that, I feel. I mean, it's a battle between the tag name of IIT versus the, what do you say, the salary of a company that
Paycheck.
yeah, the paycheck. So I feel so. I mean, I don't think this is a very well thought answer, but I think this is right now what is coming to my mind. So yeah, I mean that. And
What would
coming,
be the scenario in the yeah, what would be the scenario in the industrial level?
yeah. So industry level pe, see, the kind of work that we do, they are not like we are inventing wheels all the time, right? We are not introducing like new patterns all the time. So that means if a problem is solved by another company in other way, then we can pretty much use the same pattern and be certain that maybe it is, and our best guess would be ki it is going to work in our context. So that's why a lot of companies, they don't do their own research. But having said that, uh, And one of the reason why a research we do not spend so much time on research is the question then comes ki, can we actually afford research? Do we have the time for it? Do we have the budget for it? Do we have the right talent for it? So that is also one thing that companies struggle, because the kind of product that they are building, there is, and the kind of problems that they're tackling, it has been solved in fragments by different companies. And even also, if they, and most of the time in digital products especially, there is ample space to fail. Like if you fail, if a certain button is not working, or if a certain interaction pattern, swipe to pay, if you have written somewhere, if that is not working, then you will get the data, and next version may you are going to change, right? So
Right.
since it is an iterative process, sometimes people say ki it is okay if we fail, we will iterate and we will come up with solution. So if that is the approach, if they can afford to iterate, then they iterate. Otherwise, if they do research, they do not trust research, I feel. Many companies, they don't trust research. Research for these small things like interaction patterns and all. So they're like, we would rather depend on quantitative data, that is that is how many clicks are done, or whether people are able to do all the 4 clicks that creates a transaction and all. So with that kind of data, we can pretty much predict what is happening in the user's mind. But when it comes to qualitative data, in many places, many companies do go for qualitative research and quantitative research when they are actually producing something into the market that is very unique, when they are creating something that is very unique, because they want to be sure that that product is going to work. So in that case, they have to do research. They can either hire talent and do it, or they can outsource to many research companies that exist. So this is the space, how the industry is operating. And coming to Gen Z, I think that is not going to impact. I mean, the Gen Z ka entire, whatever the profile is, that is not going to impact how research is carried out today and how it is going to be carried out tomorrow. But in academia, definitely it is going to be impacted, and that's why there is that decline going on. And unless our policymakers create something, I mean, they don't create something that makes research comparable to paychecks, it is going to be difficult to sustain the research. Actually, it's not only about design, but for any kind of engineering or medical.
Bharat bhai, I wanted to ask you, why don't we see many iconic designs around us in India? So, be it brands or buildings or advertisements, actually, there are good works happening, but there are very less iconic designs around us. What would you say on that?
Iconic designs, actually there are, but we don't celebrate it as much as we celebrate Apple ka. Like for example, Apple ka, they are just making their MacBooks slimmer, right? So I think at
Yeah.
one point of time in airport, you will not be able to carry it because it will become a sharp object, and they will tell you ki you
Correct.
cannot carry. I mean, uh, I mean, the thing is, we are celebrating other designers or other designs like too much. For example, the kind of jugards that Indians do, that is the best form of design, I feel, because with that kind of limited knowledge, what that kind of limited resource, if people can come up with jugards to solve their real life problem, then that is really actually iconic design, right? So for example, Indian design, Amul ka advertisements, okay, they have always been on top of any trend that ever happened in India. So have you gone through Amul ka advertisements that they do?
Yes, especially with the Amul
Yeah.
girls.
Yeah.
Thing.
Right. So it is iconic in that nature, right? So in terms of advertisement, we can look up to Amul and we can celebrate that. And in terms of design, what is a Indian design? Lota is an Indian design, right? The mug that we carry to khet mein lota leke chale gaye. So I think that lota is also an Indian design. I think I don't know if you know it or not, but NID ka foundation was built on that lota ka design. So during that Jawaharlal Nehru ka reign, he had invited two people to study India and create a design education ka guideline. And they had studied, and one of the case study that they had was this lota, and they presented that lota ka design and how it is being used in many places, in different places, and that's how this NID ka thing has got approved. So I mean, I feel so this is again a knowledge that is kept as a secret or has been kept in some corner of the world. So I feel there exist these kind of things wherein our Indian designs are existing for Indian context, but they are not as much celebrated, or they do not have that kind of marketing power to be celebrated, I feel. I mean, same as unless there is some kind of quantity involved. For example, unless that kind of marketing is done. For example, when this Chandrayaan was created in a budget that is less than a film in Hollywood, then that sentence made it sound. I mean, that sentence had that ring in it, right? India had had sent a satellite in a budget that is lower than a Bollywood than a Hollywood film about space. So that's how then the world was like, okay, India is capable of uh, engineering and designing at that kind of budget. So unless that kind of marketing is done, we are going to think that India does not have uh, its own design language. But when you see things like mandalas, right? Those patterns that we create on Thursdays for Lakshmi to come. So even those designs are also quite interesting. Our patterns, our textile patterns on sarees and all, they are also uh, quite ahead of what some of the other fashion industries of the world. So
Yes.
I mean,
Even
if
we
we,
in even in the village we have this thing called jhoti. So even the jhoti is quite abstract and modernistic art.
yeah. So yeah, I mean, we have our art. I mean, we have our stories, we have our art, we have our design. It's just that we don't celebrate it as much.
तो भरत भाई इन जनरल हम जब देखते हैं सपोज कोई ऑफिस का डिजाइन हो या कोई गवर्नमेंट का सपोज किसी भी इंस्टीट्यूशन का डिजाइन हो मतलब सिंपल जैसे डब्बा टाइप स्क्वायर टाइप डिजाइन होता है सपोज या किसी भी एग्जांपल किसी पार्क का चेयर भी ले लो मतलब सिंपल सा कोई स्लैब देख के बस सिंपल डिजाइनिंग मैं ये बस पूछना चाहता कि इज इट ए बजट इशू और या लोगों के मतलब वो एपेटाइट ही नहीं है अच्छे डिजाइन के लिए रूट कॉज क्या है
It is about who wants and how they want it, right? अगर slab का issue है तो for manufacturing something that has many curves in it, like वही the same park में slab का chair. So if you are giving it to a random person to create it, they will create it, and it will not have that kind of aesthetic appeal to it, but it will be done in a budget, right? So I think budget is definitely one of those things ki the actually the mentality is mileage kitna deti hai, right? The entire society's mentality is mileage kitna deti hai, which means why to do anything else if this is working, right? So that way, in a way, we have our own idea of minimalism. We don't need curves in our tables and chairs. Whatever works, we are going to put that. But having said that, I don't think we should limit ourselves to that. I think the modern day India is changing. I mean, for example, in our products, especially our digital products, I can talk about. I cannot talk about physical product as much. So in a digital product, if you see all the top Indian companies, they are design-led companies. They have a good design team, and they are working to improve on that. So with that regard, I feel we are pretty much at world standard only. I don't think we are anyway lesser than the Silicon Valley in terms of design.
Okay, Bharat bhai. In the previous answer of yours, you also talked about our own design which has originated indigenously from our land, and since we are from the land of Lord Jagannath, so how has Puri Jagannath's design has been inspiring to you, and how it has taken in the shape of digital art or whatever you put into?
So Jagannath ka, the branding of Jagannath, right? I mean, that is something that needs to be studied. For example, all the three Raths, right? So they have different color. This Tala Doja, Darpadala now Nandi Gosa. So all these three chariots, they have their own branding in itself. Jagannath branding, if you see the contrast between black and red and the color, I mean, uh, if you draw a red circle anywhere in Puri, okay, it means it is the eye of Jagannath. Okay, that is understood. So that is the kind of branding that Jagannath has in Odisha. If you draw a, a red circle which has a stroke and does not have a fill, then it is Lord Jagannath. So I feel I have seen branding right from my childhood by seeing Lord Jagannath. And there is this story about why Jagannath is half made, right? Wherein uh, you guys know about this story, right? Why Jagannath
Yeah,
is
Yeah,
half
yeah.
made. So in
Yeah.
that story, so basically what happens in that story is um, mystery carpenter comes. He says that open the door after so many days, maybe 21 days or something, and he goes into that into a room and starts working. And after some time, when people hear uh, no sound of carpentry, they open it. Okay, so the moral that I take away from it these days is creativity is going to take time, and if you open the door or ask the designer to give it within certain time limit, you're going to get a half baked product. So that is what I feel. I mean, that is one takeaway from me. And it's not only about Jagannath, but I feel I have played a lot with sand in Puri. And the beauty of sand is you can actually do anything with it and it's going to take a shape, right? So when you have that kind of canvas, then design becomes very simple, because design at least you have constraints, and you have this you can press shift and you can draw straight lines or perfect circles. But when you're playing with sand, you know how fragile that is, right? So I feel and that gives you that kind of creative canvas that you need, the kind of creative atmosphere that you need when you're playing with sand. So I feel when I was growing up, I was playing a lot with sand, and I used to draw. Actually, my brother used to be a brilliant artist. I mean, he was born as a brilliant artist. He didn't learn or anything. And seeing him, I used to draw things. Like we used to watch Dragon Ball Z and we used to try to draw characters from Dragon Ball Z. So from there on, I think my interest to create, only to create, came. So I mean, so not just Jagannath, but if you see, many things are there in Puri, and I think many things have contributed in me becoming a designer. And especially this attitude of people around around the temple, right? Like everyone has their own character. Ki they think they are the gangster of that place, right? All the pandas and everyone, they have a gangster like feeling to them. So even growing up with that kind of idea, when they are super down to earth to the to God and to their belief, whereas when it comes to human interaction, they are like, I'm the gangster. so that is the kind of story. I mean, you will find hell amount of stories around you. So I think I was grown up in a place where I had so many stories, from how my name became Bharat Bhushan Apat to why there is how we became Apat, what is Apat. So everything had a story, and the fact that my curiosity was always answered in house, at least, I was actually, I mean, my questions were promoted. I would ask them why my name is this, why Apat, why Jagannath does not have hands, why the temple is like this, why there is free beach. So if I keep asking these questions, and that was encouraged in our house, so that is why I feel I was curious enough to go through different fields. So going to dance or going to filmmaking, going to art and going to design, on all those things. When that, I think that created the platform for me to choose design.
Nice. Interesting.
So, okay, Bharat bhai, since I was discussing with you in a previous chat and I got to know something called vector choreography, which actually I didn't hear anything about it previously. And I Googled it and I searched it. I found some of your videos. That's interesting to see how you break down the visual arts in some kind to fit into songs, the lyrics of the songs. So tell me the inception of that idea and how funny contents you are making on it.
Yeah, so the idea of vector choreography, actually, I think it was natural that I would be the person who would be doing it. I mean, in the entire country, I think I was equipped with all the thing that was required, because uh, I have been into dance for 4 or 5 years. I mean, completely. Like, I have done probably BTech in dance and not industrial design in NIT Rourkela. So I've spent all my time in Synergy. Okay, and I used to do only one form of dance, which was lyrical, which is like dancing, or yeah, dancing to lyrics of the song. So pretty much the choreography part of the vector choreography is a direct resemblance of how the dance form that I do, right? So that is there. And the design part, or the vector part, comes from design, which is right now my profession. So obviously, since I have spent enough time in both those fields, I knew that I will somehow connect these two things together somehow. And since I'm very lazy at making say After Effect animations and all, I thought I'll just screen record it. And to an extent, so these days what has happened is I don't care about aesthetics as much when it comes to social media posting. So I think, and people find it interesting because it stands out from the crowd. Everyone is trying to make everything polished, but when something comes very pure, which is like a screen recording, direct screen recording, it stands out in the market of polished things. So that is one idea. But however, it never originated to be a content for social media, this vector choreography. Actually, in my college, NID, when I was studying in NID, uh, we had a thing called Secret Santa kind of thing. So are you guys aware of what is Secret Santa?
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yes,
yeah.
he comes and gifts us random
Yeah,
things.
so basically you have to secretly gift your buddy something. Okay, and since I'm lazy and I'm miser, I thought I will not give my buddy anything. I mean, not give anything as in not, I'll not spend money on
Yeah,
my
yeah.
buddy. So I thought I will create something for her, uh, which would be uh, which would be intellectual, comic, and which will have some bit of me and design in it, right? So because I wanted to give her some kind of hint so that she finds out that it is me. Okay, so that's how I thought, ki, what can I do? And one of the idea was, I thought I will dance and I'll record my shadow and I will send her. So I had sent that. There was no reply from the buddy. I think she didn't see the. I mean, I was sending her through mail, but I didn't see. I didn't get any reply. Then I sent her this one, vector choreography. I created this vector choreography on the song called I think from Titanic, "My Heart Goes On," or whatever that song is.
Yes,
So
I guess that you have uploaded in your YouTube channel.
yeah, that is there
Yeah,
in YouTube. And
yeah,
I think 4 or 5 things are there in Instagram, which I have not uploaded. But yeah, I think
yeah.
my heart goes on. I created that and I had sent her.
And your latest one was 1,000 years.
Yeah, correct.
Yeah.
So when I had sent her, still I didn't get a reply. and she passed out. She was my senior, so she passed out and she went, and there was no reply. So I made my first vector choreography in 2017, and probably I posted it online, and I thought it had no potential. I thought it was complete piece of shit because I didn't get any kind of response. Okay, so I had not shared it with anyone. However, I shared it with Abodit and all of those people whom I share my designs with, visual notes people. So I had shared them, and they were quite blown away by it. They were like, "Ki, this is what something that you should do and all." But since I didn't get the reply from my target audience with my body, I thought it is full of shit. I will not continue. It was just an experimentation, failed experimentation. Let's just move on. But then one day I decided to post it on Instagram, and then I shared it with a few comedians. Okay, like Abish Matthew, Kenny Sebastian, Bisu Kalyanrath, and all. And out of that, Abish Matthew reshared it, saying that it is hilarious. Okay, and from there on I realized, and there on actually my Instagram following actually started. I think I was somewhere around 400, and then Abish Matthew shared this thing, vector choreography, and it became somewhere around 1,000 with that. And there also, but follower gain is not the thing. I got the super confidence that I can create content that is at par with national level, and that is where I gained that confidence. And from there on, it was never looking back. So from there on, summaries started, and summaries also were shared by some bigger names at one point of time, then getting featured in future and all. So all of this actually started happening because this vector choreography gave me that kind of confidence when Abish Matthew shared it in his Instagram. So I mean that was the inception. And what I've thought of doing these days is, with every 1,000 followers on Instagram, I will do a vector choreography because it takes a lot of time to create it. At least it takes a lot of time to think about it. So that's why I thought ki at 4,000 mark, I will do another vector choreography, and at 5,000 another one. So likewise.
Okay.
Looking
And
forward.
yes, and that almost a similar strategy also I have read from your article in Medium also, where you said how you used Instagram to boost your creativity, your works, and how to manage those things.
Yeah. So that again, we talked about indestructible in our social dilemma wala conversation, right? So
Yes.
what I did was basically I hacked the dopamine from social media. So I wanted to learn things, okay, but I don't usually get dopamine out of it by learning a new thing, right? What I'll do, so this entire summary ka game is basically I will learn something, I'll post it on social media, then all this like and conversation and whatever happens, they are going to give me dopamine, and they are going to tell me to post another one, another summary. That means again I have to learn a new thing, and then again I have to do my research. So that way it became a cycle. I pretty much hacked the dopamine cycle from social media to make my learning better. So I mean, if people want to do that for creating some kind of habit, I think that is also something that they can do. So basically, what is happening is social media is hacking our brain, and we are re-hacking social media or re-hacking our brain to create a certain habit. So I mean, yeah, I mean, and all that happens once you understand what the game is, what the rules of the games are, right? So yeah, I mean, that's how this entire Samarika game is happening these days. I have stopped, not stopped, but paused a bit of posting my Instagram summaries, because I've actually been taking a lot of notes. I have thought ki I will do something that will be completely different. I'm going to reach 50th summary. I'm going to post 50th summary, and after that I will try something different other than what I've been posting. Different in terms of visuals. So
Yeah.
yeah, we'll see.
So, Bharat bhai, it was really nice talking to you about the diverse topics in the design field, and it was quite insightful as well. So, to conclude, I want you to say to all our listeners who really want to get into the design field, so any kind of advice for them, and also on your takeaways from this podcast.
Sure, sure. I actually had a great time talking to you guys, and you guys are prepared well. You guys have uh, done your research part, at least. If Indian design ka research ka, I don't know, but you guys have done your research well. So kudos to you guys. And talking about why, or advices for youngsters who are getting into design, I would rather give advice to pretty much everyone. Is something that I have found out by reading these days is there are two things that people need to give value and importance, and that is individuality and curiosity. I think most of the time people are less self-aware of what they want. So whenever even people want to become designers, they should be self-aware ki what I want to design. Is it UI UX, or is it screens, or is it product, or is it textile, is it physical things, and so on. So that is something that people need to do that, and that question will be answered when they're going to find out what kind of individual they themselves are. And there are many ways to find that out, journaling being one of them, and observing their own reaction to environment is one of them. So individuality is one thing, and the other thing is curiosity, because what I have seen is people think that education is over after getting a degree, but what I feel is education starts when you get that degree, because that's when there is no syllabus, and what you do when there is no syllabus is curiosity. Do you have that appetite, that hunger to learn different things, right? Because UI UX ka, I don't think there are many schools that is going to teach you UI UX, and even if they teach, I don't think that is enough to actually do a fine job in industry. So when you have that curiosity, you need that curiosity uh, to drive your passion into designing. So you should always seek for answers. You should always be open to asking silly questions. That is what I was posting today also in Facebook ki people are actually afraid of asking silly questions. They think that there is some norm that exists, but they don't know why that norm exists. And when they question things, they are going to get answer, and that is going to help them get into design, right? So that is the thing. And one other thing, I would say a third tip would be to not only learn design, to try do different things, because otherwise you will only be a template designer, as in the whatever, I mean, what you are going to learn from internet, everyone else is also learning from internet. So you will be a very replaceable asset in that way. So what you should try to do is you should try to find out what you're passionate about. Anything, like I can actually bring in dance ka certain elements to design in motion graphics, and that would be my individual things, and no one can do it better, because I would own that space where I can connect dance to design, right? Or I bring, say, some element of storytelling that I've learned from WWE, and maybe I will use that storytelling in my presentation, right? So then again, I mean, the kind of synthesis that can happen between uh, different passion is incredible, and that's where the magic happens, when two or three art form actually collide with each other. And this is where I think people need to invest their time in, and not be afraid of learning new things, asking difficult questions or silly questions, and seeking out of syllabus knowledge. So yeah, I mean, that's all from my side.
Okay, that's quite,
Thank you
yeah,
so much, Bharat bhai.
yes, that's quite inspiring, Bharat bhai. And it was really pleasure to have you on this show and talk about different things. And to our audience, as always, if you have listened to this far, then thank you so much, and stay tuned and stay high. We are Siley Hover signing off.